Have you ever been erased from your own family while they lived in your house? My name is Allison Foster. I'm 34, an architect, and for most of my life, I believed that family meant something, that blood mattered, that if you just kept showing up, kept trying, eventually you'd be seen. I was wrong. When I called my stepmother to ask about our annual family vacation, she told me they'd already left. "We only invited people who actually matter," she said. Then she demanded I send over the keys to my beach house, the one my father left me, and told me not to make a scene. I smiled. I hung up. And 3 days later, I sent those keys. But tucked inside the envelope was something else. Something that made her scream the moment she opened it. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. This is what happened when I stopped being the daughter who stayed quiet. To understand what happened, you need to know about the Fosters. Foster Development Group isn't just a company, it's a Manhattan institution. 40 years of luxury real estate, from the Upper East Side to the Hamptons. My father, Richard Foster, built it from nothing, two empty hands and a vision. By the time I was born, our projects were featured in Architectural Digest. Our family appeared in the New York Social Diary. We were the kind of people other people wanted to be. I'm the daughter from his first marriage. My mother died when I was 8, cancer, fast and brutal. For 4 years, it was just Dad and me. He taught me to read blueprints before I could do long division. We'd spend weekends walking through construction sites, him explaining load-bearing walls and foundation integrity like other fathers talked about baseball. Then he met Victoria. She was elegant, polished, exactly what a man like my father was supposed to want. I was 12 when they married. I tried to be happy for him. I really did. 6 years later, my half-sister Madison was born. The golden child. The one who looked like Victoria, acted like Victoria, wanted everything Victoria wanted. I went to Columbia and studied architecture. I loved it. The creativity, the problem solving, the idea that you could build something that would outlast you. After graduation, everyone assumed I'd join Foster Development, take my place in the family empire. I didn't. I started my own practice. Small projects, sustainable design, historic renovations, work I believed in. Victoria called it a betrayal. Madison posted on Instagram about family loyalty. My father just smiled and said, "Allison builds dreams, Madison sells them." He meant it as a compliment to both of us. Victoria heard it as a hierarchy. The beach house sits in the Hamptons, 6 bedrooms with unobstructed ocean views. It's worth $8.5 million, according to the most recent appraisal. My father bought it the summer I turned 16. The structure was sound, but the interior was dated. Dark paneling, closed-off rooms, tiny windows that wasted that incredible view. He handed me a sketch pad and said, "Show me what you see." We spent 2 years redesigning it together. Knocked down walls, added floor-to-ceiling windows, built a wraparound deck from reclaimed teak. The kitchen got top-of-the-line Miele appliances. The living room got custom built-ins and a fireplace faced in limestone. Every detail was intentional. That house taught me what architecture really meant. Not just buildings, legacy. Creating something that would matter long after you were gone. My father died 6 months ago. Massive heart attack in his office. No warning. One moment he was reviewing contracts, the next he was gone. The will reading happened 3 weeks later. Victoria got CEO position, temporary, until the board appointed someone permanent. Madison got the VP of marketing role she already held, plus a significant stock package. Together, they inherited the majority of company shares and control of the $12 million family foundation. I got the beach house. It was mine completely, held in something called an irrevocable trust with me as the sole trustee. No one could touch it. No one could take it. It was protected. I also got 20% of company stock, non-voting shares. Enough to matter financially, not enough to have a say in decisions. At the time, I thought it was fair. Generous, even. James Crawford, my father's attorney, pulled me aside after the reading. Your father was very specific about protecting what's yours, he said quietly. Read the trust documents carefully. I nodded, not really understanding. I should have paid more attention. The changes started immediately. Victoria moved into the CEO office the day after the funeral. Within a week, she'd rearranged the executive team, brought in her own consultants, started talking about new directions and fresh vision. I wasn't invited to those meetings. When I asked about attending board sessions, I was a shareholder after all. Victoria's assistant said they were executive level only. Madison started posting photos from the beach house on Instagram. Hashtag family retreat. Hash Hamptons summer. Hash Foster legacy. Comments poured in from her friends. Your family's beach house is gorgeous. So lucky. She never asked permission, never even mentioned she was going. At our weekly family dinners, a tradition Victoria insisted on maintaining for your father's memory, the conversation always circled back to the company, the Florida expansion, the new development in Tribeca, Madison's marketing campaigns. When I mentioned my own projects, Victoria would smile tightly. That's nice, dear. Maybe you could focus on your little architecture projects and let us handle the real business. Little projects, real business. I kept showing up to those dinners at Per Se, kept smiling across tables laden with Waterford crystal and Christoffel silver, kept pretending I didn't notice how they talked around me instead of to me. Your father would want us to stay united, Victoria said once, reaching across to pat my hand. Her Cartier bracelet caught the light. Don't be difficult. Difficult. That's what I was when I had boundaries. Difficult. During one dinner, Victoria mentioned something in passing. We're finalizing the Florida expansion. It's going to require significant capital. I looked up. Where's the capital coming from? She smiled. We're exploring options. Don't worry about it. But I did worry, because I was starting to understand that when Victoria said we, she never meant me. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon while I was reviewing blueprints for a brownstone renovation in Brooklyn. Allison, darling, Victoria's voice was honey smooth. We need the beach house for a client retreat next month. It's for the company, your father's legacy. I set down my pencil. I have projects scheduled there. I use it as a workspace. Surely you can work from your apartment for 1 week. Victoria, I can't just... This is important. These are major clients, the kind of relationships that keep the company thriving. I took a breath. I'm sorry, but no, the house isn't available. Silence. Then, I see. She hung up. 10 minutes later, my phone lit up with texts from Madison. Seriously? You're being selfish. This is for all of us. Dad would be so disappointed. I didn't respond. At dinner the following week, Victoria brought it up again, this time in front of guests. A couple from Texas, potential investors in the Florida project. The woman wore a Bulgari necklace that probably cost more than my annual salary. Allison is still learning about family priorities, Victoria said, laughing lightly. She cut into her Dover sole with practiced precision. She thinks the beach house is hers alone. The investors glanced at me. I felt my face heat. The house is in a trust, I said quietly. I can't just hand it over for commercial use. A trust you control. Victoria's smile didn't reach her eyes. Don't hide behind paperwork, sweetheart. The investor husband cleared his throat. The Hamptons property, that's the 6-bedroom on Meadow Lane, right? Beautiful location. Victoria nodded. Yes, it's been in the family for years. Perfect for entertaining. She was lying. She was sitting there in Per Se, lying to investors about who owned my house. And I realized this was just the beginning. The email arrived 3 days later. Subject line, we need to talk, not at the office. Sender, Diane Chen, CFO of Foster Development. I'd known Diane for years. She'd worked with my father since I was in high school. A steady, principled woman who treated numbers like sacred texts. If Diane wanted to meet off-site, something was seriously wrong. We met at a coffee shop in the West Village, far from Midtown and anyone who might recognize us. Diane looked exhausted. She ordered a double espresso and didn't touch it. "I need to show you something," she said, sliding a folder across the table. "But if anyone asks, we never met." Inside were bank statements, foundation account transactions, withdrawals in neat columns: $125,000, $87,000, $128,000. What am I looking at? Victoria's been pulling money from the family foundation, $340,000 in the past year alone. Diane's voice was barely above a whisper. She categorized them as marketing expenses, but there are no invoices, no documentation, nothing. My stomach dropped. The foundation has strict rules. "I know, your father set it up that way deliberately. Charitable purposes only. Emergency family hardship with board approval." She tapped the papers. "These don't qualify." I raised concerns. Victoria told me it was a temporary loan and threatened my position if I documented it. "Why are you telling me this?" Diane finally looked at me. "Because your father trusted me to protect what he built. This isn't right. And," she hesitated, "this isn't the first time. There's another 200,000 from earlier withdrawals. Different categories, same pattern. Nearly $600,000. What's she using it for?" "I don't know, but I think it's connected to the Florida expansion." Diane pushed a USB drive across the table. "Everything's on here. Bank statements, email trails, authorization forms. If anything happens to me," she said, "this needs to go to the board." James Crawford's office occupied the 42nd floor of a midtown tower, all mahogany furniture and walls lined with leather-bound legal volumes, old money aesthetics for old money clients. I spread Diane's documents across his desk. He studied them in silence, reading glasses perched on his nose. Finally, he looked up. "Your father anticipated this." "What?" James stood, walked to a filing cabinet, and retrieved a thick folder. "When your father revised his will 3 months before he died, he added something, Section 7, Paragraph 3. He opened the document, pointing to a dense paragraph of legal text. "It's called a forfeiture clause. If any beneficiary willfully attempts to deprive another beneficiary of their rightful inheritance through fraud, coercion, or misappropriation of estate assets, they forfeit their entire inheritance." I read the paragraph twice. The foundation counts as estate assets? Yes. It was established with estate funds and governed by the will's terms. James sat back. "Your father knew Victoria. He loved her, but he knew her. So if I can prove she misused the foundation and tried to coerce me, she loses everything. The CEO position, her inheritance, her stock, her board seat, all of it." He paused. "Madison, too, if she's complicit." The room felt smaller suddenly. "Why didn't you tell me this before?" "Because your father's instructions were specific. I was to inform you only if Victoria made a move against you." James handed me the folder. "Read these tonight. Every word. Understand your rights." I took the folder, hands shaking slightly. "One more thing." James pulled out a sealed envelope, my name written across it in my father's handwriting. "He left this for you, to be opened when you need his strength." I stared at the envelope. "He knew," I whispered. "He knew she'd do this." "He knew," James confirmed, "and he made sure you wouldn't face it alone." Sophie Martinez had been my best friend since Columbia. We'd pulled all-nighters in the architecture library, celebrated each other's first commissions, survived heartbreaks over wine and takeout. After graduation, she'd gone to law school, real estate law specifically. I showed up at her apartment in Chelsea with the documents and my father's letter, still sealed. She read through everything twice, making notes on a legal pad. "Can they force you to sell the house?" I asked. "No. It's in an irrevocable trust with you as sole trustee. Legally, it's bulletproof." She set down her pen. But they can make your life hell, and they will. I know. Do you? Sophie leaned forward. Because this isn't just family drama anymore. This is a legal battle. If you activate that forfeiture clause, there's no going back. Victoria will fight. Madison will fight. It'll be ugly. It's already ugly. It'll get worse. She softened. What's your end game? Do you want them out of your life or do you want justice? I thought about the beach house, the foundation, my father's legacy being gutted for a real estate deal. I want them to understand that I'm not someone they can erase. Sophie nodded slowly. Then we need to document everything. Every text, every email, every phone call. If they escalate to coercion, you have grounds for a restraining order, and it strengthens the forfeiture case. She helped me draft an email to Victoria. Professional, clear, final. The beach house is not available for company use. This is my final answer. Are you prepared for them to cut you off completely? Sophie asked as I hit send. No more family dinners? No more pretending? I thought about those dinners at Per Se, the crystal, the lies. I've been cut off emotionally for years, I said. I'm just making it official. 2 weeks later, Victoria called. Her voice was different, warmer, almost genuine. Allison, darling, we need to talk about the annual family vacation. Every July, the Fosters spent a week at the beach house. It had been tradition since my father bought the place. Swimming, bonfires, long dinners on the deck watching the sunset. The first summer without him. I'm planning it for July 15th through 22nd, Victoria continued. I wanted to give you the dates so you can clear your calendar. I'll check my schedule. It's important we're all there, for your father's memory. A pause. Madison is bringing her fiancé. It's a family milestone. Something felt wrong. Victoria was being too nice, too accommodating. I'll let you know, I said. Perfect. I'll have Madison send you the details. A week later, Madison posted on Instagram a photo of the beach house at sunset, caption reading, "Can't wait for our annual foster family retreat. Our family, first, had Hampton's life." The comments rolled in. So lucky to have that beautiful beach house. Your family home is stunning. Family home. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Ms. Foster, this is Jennifer from Prestige Catering. Mrs. Foster asked me to confirm the menu for 12 guests at the Hamptons property, July 15th through 22nd. We'll need access codes for delivery. 12 guests. Access codes. I didn't authorize any catering, I said. Oh, confusion in her voice. Mrs. Foster said this was the Foster family home? She's already paid the deposit, $15,000. I hung up and immediately called the number back, got the catering company's main line. They confirmed everything. Full-service catering for 12, house manager hired, invitations sent to 8 VIP clients. Victoria hadn't asked permission. She'd made plans, in my house, for a business event disguised as family vacation, and she'd already told people it was happening. I called Victoria immediately. Don't be dramatic, her warm tone had evaporated. It's a family vacation and a business opportunity. You're welcome to join us. You don't have permission to use my house for business events. It's not a business event. It's family hosting friends. She sighed, the sound of someone dealing with a difficult child. Unless you're planning to ban your own sister from the house? That's not what this is about. Then stop making everything difficult. Your father would be ashamed of how selfish you've become. The words hit like a slap. You booked catering without asking me. I'm trying to honor your father's memory. I'm trying to keep this family together, and you're acting like a landlord instead of a daughter. Her voice rose. Do you know what those clients think? That we're a united family? That we support each other? What do you think happens when I have to tell them the trip is canceled because you won't share? Victoria, you have two choices, Allison. You can be part of this family, or you can be alone. But you don't get to have it both ways. She hung up. I sat there, phone in hand, rage and hurt warring in my chest. She'd boxed me in perfectly. Say yes, let them take over my home, set a precedent that I had no real control. Say no, become the villain who ruined family tradition and embarrassed Victoria in front of important clients. I thought about my father, about the forfeiture clause, about James Crawford's words. He made sure you wouldn't face it alone. I opened my laptop and pulled up the trust documents. Then I started making calls. July 14th, one day before their scheduled arrival. I called Victoria to clarify the arrangements. She didn't answer. Madison picked up. "Oh, Allison." Background noise, laughter, music, clinking glasses. "Mom's busy right now. We're actually already at the beach." My hand tightened on the phone. "What? The trip starts tomorrow." "We moved it up a few days. Didn't Mom tell you?" Madison's voice was light, careless. "We wanted to get settled before everyone else arrives." "I didn't give permission for anyone to be there." "Permission?" She laughed. "It's the family house, Allison." "It's my house, Madison." "Wow. Okay." A pause. "Let me get Mom." More background noise. Someone asking about wine. Victoria's voice distant. "Tell her I'll call her back." "She wants to talk to you now," Madison said. A sigh. Footsteps. Then Victoria's voice, cool and controlled. "Allison, we're already on the trip. We only invited people who actually matter, the ones who support this family and the business your father built." Each word was precise, deliberate. "You're in my house without permission. Don't make a scene." Her tone could have frozen water. "Just send over the keys. We had to call a locksmith. Very inconvenient. And let us enjoy this week. You can visit another time." In the background I heard someone toast. "To the Fosters." Laughter. Applause. They were having a party. In my house. Without me. I thought about my father's letter, still sealed in my desk drawer. About the forfeiture clause. About Diane's evidence and James Crawford's quiet confidence. "I'll send the keys," I said. "Good." Relief in Victoria's voice. "I'm glad you're finally being reasonable." I hung up, and I smiled, because she'd just made a critical mistake. She thought I was surrendering. I sat at my drafting table, surrounded by blueprints and books about load-bearing structures and architectural integrity. A framed photo of my father and me stood on the shelf, both of us smiling in front of the half-built beach house, my 16-year-old self holding a rolled-up blueprint. Building things that last. That's what he'd taught me. I called James Crawford. "I need the forfeiture clause documents, official copies notarized." "Are you sure?" His voice was careful. "Once you activate this, there's no going back." "I'm sure. They made their choice." "I'll prepare the package. What else do you need?" Evidence summary from Diane. Timeline of fund misuse. The trust documents showing I'm sole owner. This is going to the board? Eventually. First, it's going to Victoria. Next, I called Diane. "Are you willing to testify if needed?" Her voice shook. "Yes, I can't watch this anymore." "Thank you. James will be in touch." Then I opened my father's letter. My hands trembled as I unfolded the paper. His handwriting, strong and clear. "Allison, if you're reading this, it means you're facing a choice I hoped you'd never have to make. I built this company with my hands, but I built you with my heart. You are my greatest achievement. Victoria loves power. Madison loves comfort. But you, my darling girl, you love truth. That's why I'm trusting you with the hardest job, protecting what matters. The house isn't just property. It's a test. If they come for it, it means they've forgotten what family really means. Don't let anyone make you small. You are a foster. You are my daughter. And you have every right to take up space in this world. I'm sorry I won't be there to stand beside you. But I made sure you'd have the tools to stand on your own. Use them wisely. Use them justly. And know that I'm proud of you. Always. Love, Dad. Inside the envelope was a photo. Me and Dad in front of the beach house, both of us grinning. I cried then. The first real tears since the funeral. But they weren't tears of weakness. James delivered the package the next morning, a small box containing the spare set of beach house keys and a manila envelope, thick with documents, sealed with a wax stamp bearing the Foster family crest, an F in an ornate circle. Inside the envelope, the complete forfeiture clause with legal interpretation, bank statements from Diane showing every unauthorized withdrawal, email trails proving Victoria's attempts at coercion, trust documents establishing my sole ownership, a cover letter from James Crawford, on law firm letterhead, explaining exactly what Victoria was looking at. I included a handwritten note on my personal stationery, simple, professional. As requested, please read the enclosed documents carefully. A. I sent it via courier, signature required, tracking number recorded. Then I went back to work. I met with a client about a historic brownstone renovation, reviewed structural drawings for a sustainable housing project in Queens, had lunch with Sophie, who squeezed my hand and said, "You're doing the right thing." I didn't check my phone obsessively, didn't refresh the tracking page every 5 minutes. I'd done what needed to be done. Now I waited. The tracking updated at 4:37 p.m. Delivered. Signed by V. Foster. Sophie called an hour later. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine. I'm finally doing what I should have done months ago." "What happens after they read it?" "That depends on them. If they're smart, they'll settle quietly. If not..." I looked out my apartment window at the Manhattan skyline, all those buildings reaching toward the sky. If not? Then we go public. The Foster Foundation Gala is in 10 days. The board will all be there. "You're really going through with this?" "I'm protecting what my father built, what he trusted me to protect. I wasn't sending keys. I was sending consequences." The call came at 6:15 p.m. Victoria didn't speak at first. Just breathing, rapid and uneven. "Did you receive the keys?" I asked, my voice steady. "What is this?" Her voice was barely controlled. "Documents you should have read 6 months ago. The full trust agreement and the will's forfeiture clause. This is... You can't. James Crawford is your lawyer. This is biased." "James was Dad's lawyer for 30 years. The documents are legal and binding. They've been filed with the county, and the foundation board has copies." "You're bluffing. You don't have proof of anything." Section 7, paragraph 3. Read it again. Then check the attached bank statements, dates, amounts, authorization codes, all from the foundation account. Silence. Then, "I was going to pay it back. It was a loan." There it was. Admission. "The foundation charter doesn't allow personal loans. You know that." "You ungrateful little..." Her voice cracked. "We gave you everything. We included you. You included me. You're in my house right now, Victoria, without permission." A sound in the background. A wail. High-pitched, raw. Victoria screaming. "Mom, what's wrong?" Madison's voice, distant but panicked. "Get out!" Victoria's voice was unrecognizable. "Everyone get out! The trip is over!" Confusion in the background. "What's happening? Is everything okay?" "Victoria?" I could hear it all falling apart, the music stopping, voices rising in concern. Someone asking about the catering, the schedule. What about tomorrow's boat trip? "I said get out!" Victoria shrieked. The line went dead. I sat there in my quiet apartment, phone in hand, and felt something I hadn't felt in months. Relief. Not satisfaction, not revenge. Just the simple relief of truth finally being louder than lies. James called the next morning. "Victoria's attorney contacted me. They're threatening to contest the forfeiture clause." I'd been expecting this. "On what grounds?" "They claim you engineered a situation to trigger it, that you refused reasonable family requests to create evidence of coercion." "I have texts and emails proving they initiated everything. I never refused reasonable requests. I refused illegal use of my property. I know. Their case is weak, but they're going to make noise. Papers rustled on his end. The foundation board meets quarterly. Next meeting is the night of the gala, actually. August 3rd. 3 weeks away. Will they hear the evidence? If you formally petition, yes. You're a beneficiary. You have standing. Prepare the petition. I want it filed this week. James hesitated. Allison, are you sure? This will be public. Everyone in your social circle will know. I thought about those dinners at Per Se, the whispers, the careful exclusion disguised as family unity. They should know. My father built that foundation to help people, not fund Victoria's vanity projects. There's one more thing. James's voice dropped. Madison called me separately. She claims she didn't know about the fund misuse, says her mother told her the withdrawals were authorized. Did she sign the authorization forms? Yes, 2 of them. Then she knew enough. I stood, walked to my window. Ignorance isn't an excuse when you benefit from the crime. I'll file the petition today. After we hung up, I pulled up Madison's Instagram. Her most recent post was from yesterday, a photo of the beach house deck, caption deleted, comments turned off. The next post was a quote graphic. Family is everything. I closed the app. Family is everything. Unless you're the one they're trying to erase. We met at James's office, neutral territory with legal protection. Diane arrived with a leather portfolio, looking more determined than frightened now. She'd made her choice. I brought the full audit, she said, spreading documents across the conference table. $587,000 withdrawn over 18 months. James and I reviewed the breakdown. $340,000 categorized as marketing expenses. No invoices, no contracts, no deliverables. $125,000 labeled emergency family loan. No repayment schedule, no board approval, no documentation of emergency. $122,000 paid to Foster Consulting LLC, a limited liability company that Victoria owned personally. I documented everything, Diane said, because I knew this day would come. Your father taught me, integrity isn't convenient, but it's necessary. Are you prepared for retaliation? I asked. Victoria will try to discredit you. I have 22 years with this company, clean record, and I have my own copies of everything, stored off-site. She met my eyes. I'm not afraid anymore. James made notes. Diane's testimony is credible. Combined with bank records and your evidence of coercion, the board will have no choice but to act. What about Madison? I asked. Diane pulled out another document, an email, printed and highlighted, from Madison Foster. To Accounting Department. Subject, authorization needed, ASAP. Mom needs this approved by end of day. It's for the Florida deal. Don't make her wait. The email was dated 4 months ago. The amount, $128,000. She knew, Diane said quietly. I stared at my half-sister's words. So casual, so certain of her authority. Don't make her wait. What's the Florida deal? I asked. Diane and James exchanged glances. That, James said, is where this gets interesting. I spent that evening researching. Foster Development's website announced it proudly. Major expansion into South Florida luxury market. A $45 million project. Beachfront condos in Miami. High-end retail. The future of Foster legacy. The funding breakdown was public, filed with investors. $20 million from outside investors. $15 million from a commercial loan. $10 million from internal capital reserves. I called Sophie. Can you look something up for me? She pulled the loan documents. They need collateral for the $15 million, significant collateral. Like what? Like an $8.5 million beach house. Everything clicked into place. Victoria needed the house, not for vacations, not for client retreats. She needed it as collateral for the Florida loan. If I'd voluntarily transferred ownership to the company, which she'd been pressuring me to do, they could leverage it without my consent. And if the Florida deal failed, the bank would foreclose. I'd lose the house. Victoria and Madison would walk away with whatever they'd already spent. They weren't just stealing from the foundation, Sophie said. They were stealing your future to fund theirs. I found another article in Commercial Observer. Foster Development seeks $15 credit line, eyes Miami Beach portfolio. The article quoted Victoria. We're proud to leverage our family's legacy assets to build the next generation of luxury developments. Family legacy assets. My house. The house my father gave me. The house he protected in an irrevocable trust, specifically so no one could take it. And Victoria had already told investors it was available. I screenshotted everything. Then I called James. I need to add something to the board petition, I said. Evidence of intent to defraud. What did you find? I told him. His silence spoke volumes. Finally. Your father knew exactly what he was doing when he wrote that forfeiture clause. The Foster Foundation annual gala was the social event of the summer. 200 guests. The Plaza Hotel's grand ballroom, black tie. The invitation list read like a who's who of New York society. Donors, board members, business partners, politicians, old money and new money mingling over champagne and promises of philanthropy. This year's theme, Building Legacies. The irony wasn't lost on me. Victoria would be the host, giving the keynote speech about carrying forward Richard Foster's vision. Madison was co-chair, had been posting about it for weeks. Photos of her dress fittings, behind-the-scenes prep. Honoring Dad's memory in elegant script over sunset photos. My invitation arrived by courier, formal, unavoidable. Sophie came over the night before. Are you really going? I have to. The board meeting is right after, in the private salon upstairs. If I don't show, Victoria will spin it as me abandoning the family. What's your plan? I looked at the garment bag hanging on my closet door. Simple black Dior, vintage. The pearl earrings my father gave me for my college graduation. I'm going to let her give her speech. Let her talk about legacy and family values and integrity. I met Sophie's eyes. And then I'm going to the board meeting with evidence. You're not going to confront her publicly? I don't need to. The board will do it for me. My phone buzzed. Text from Madison. Please don't come tonight. Mom is already stressed. Can't we handle this privately? I showed Sophie. She's scared, Sophie said. She should be. I texted back. I'll be there. This is private. It's a family foundation event. See you tonight. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. No response. I pulled out the folder James had prepared. Petition for emergency board review. Evidence summary. Diane's testimony. The Florida deal documents. Everything organized, professional, irrefutable. My father's voice echoed in my memory. Allison builds dreams. Tomorrow night, I'd build something else. Justice. The plaza's grand ballroom glittered like something from another era. Crystal chandeliers, gold leaf molding, tables draped in ivory silk with centerpieces of white orchids and roses. A string quartet played near the entrance. Waiters circulated with champagne and canapes. I arrived alone, my vintage Dior simple against the sea of designer gowns. My father's pearl earrings felt like armor. The whispers started immediately. I saw heads turn, heard my name in hushed conversations. Everyone knew about the family tension. This was New York society, where gossip traveled faster than stock tips. Victoria stood near the center of the room in a dramatic red Valentino gown, a statement diamond necklace at her throat. She was holding court with a group of major donors, laughing at something someone said. She saw me. Her smile froze for a fraction of a second before snapping back into place. Madison appeared at her mother's elbow, wearing a trendy Balmain dress that had probably been all over Instagram. Her face went pale when she spotted me. I moved through the crowd, nodding to people I knew. Patricia Westbrook, an old friend of my father's, squeezed my hand. Allison, dear, your father would be so proud of the work you're doing. Thank you, Mrs. Westbrook. She leaned in, lowering her voice. I heard there's been some tension. Family businesses are complicated. They are. But my father taught me that doing the right thing is never complicated, even when it's hard. She smiled, understanding in her eyes. Victoria approached, Madison trailing behind. The crowd around us quieted slightly, sensing drama. Allison, darling. Victoria's voice was warm, but her eyes were ice. I'm so glad you could make it. I wouldn't miss it. Dad loved this event. We need to talk, after the speeches, privately. I'll be at the board meeting upstairs. You're welcome to join. Victoria's jaw tightened. That meeting is for board members only, and beneficiaries with standing. James confirmed my seat. Madison stepped forward. Allison, can we please not do this here? I looked at my half-sister. I'm not doing anything, Madison. I'm attending a gala, just like you asked me to, remember? Family should be together. The silence around us grew heavier. Victoria took Madison's arm and pulled her away. I heard her hiss. I told you to keep her away. This is a disaster. Dinner was served. Courses appeared and disappeared. Seared scallops, filet mignon, chocolate soufflé. I barely tasted any of it. Sophie sat beside me, a steady presence. Diane was 3 tables over. As CFO, she was required to attend. She caught my eye once and gave a tiny nod. Several board members were scattered throughout the room. I recognized Robert Chen, an investment banker, Lisa Tran, a nonprofit attorney, Thomas Hartwell, the board chair, a retired judge with silver hair and an expression that gave nothing away. They'd all received the petition. James had confirmed it. After dessert, the lights dimmed. A spotlight hit the stage. Victoria walked up to the microphone, poised and elegant. The room applauded. Thank you all for being here tonight, she began, her voice warm and resonant. This foundation meant everything to my husband Richard, and it means everything to me. She paused, letting emotion color her voice. Richard built Foster Development on principles of integrity, generosity, and family unity. He believed that wealth is a responsibility, not a privilege, that we must use our resources to lift others up. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Tonight, I'm honored to announce that Foster Development is expanding our charitable giving with a new $2 million commitment to youth education programs across New York. Applause. Genuine appreciation. Richard always said, family is everything, and I promise to honor that value every single day. Victoria's gaze swept the room, landing on me for a brief second. To my daughters, Madison and Allison, your father's legacy lives on through you. Never forget what he built and why. More applause. People at my table glanced at me, expecting me to clap. I didn't. I just watched. Sophie whispered, "How can she say that with a straight face?" "Practice," I murmured. "Lots of practice." Across the room, I saw Thomas Hartwell lean over to Robert Chen, whispering something. Both men's expressions were serious. They knew. The board knew. Victoria kept talking about integrity and family values, standing on a foundation of lies, but the numbers would speak louder than her speech ever could. After the speeches, guests moved to the adjoining salon for cocktails and networking. I stood near the windows overlooking Central Park, nursing a glass of sparkling water. Patricia Westbrook approached again. That was a lovely speech Victoria gave. It was. She studied me. But you didn't applaud. No, I didn't. Patricia was quiet for a moment. Your father and I served on 3 boards together. He was the most principled man I knew. He wouldn't compromise his values for anything. She touched my arm lightly. I imagine he taught you the same. He did. Good, she smiled. The world needs more people who won't compromise. Robert Chen appeared at my elbow. Ms. Foster, I received your petition. The board takes these matters very seriously. I appreciate that, Mr. Chen. I'm available to answer any questions. We'll convene upstairs in 20 minutes. Please be prepared to present your evidence. I will be. He nodded and moved away. Madison intercepted me near the bar, her face flushed. What did you say to Robert Chen? Nothing you need to worry about, if you haven't done anything wrong. This is so typical of you. Her voice was low but intense. Always causing drama, always making everything about you. Madison, I haven't said a word all night. I'm just existing. If that causes drama, maybe the problem isn't me. Her eyes filled with tears. You're going to ruin us. Mom's worked so hard. Mom embezzled from a charitable foundation. That's what's going to ruin you. She was going to pay it back. That's not how the law works. You're my sister. Her voice broke. Doesn't that mean anything? I looked at her, really looked at her. The golden child who'd never been told no, who'd signed authorization forms without asking questions, who'd posted photos of my house like it was hers. It meant something to me, I said quietly. I wish it had meant something to you. I walked away. Behind me, I heard her crying. I didn't look back. The private salon on the third floor was smaller, more intimate. A mahogany conference table, leather chairs, walls lined with portraits of past foundation board members, my father's among them. 9 board members filed in. Thomas Hartwell took the head of the table. James Crawford sat to his right, legal counsel for the foundation. I sat 3 seats down, folder in front of me. Victoria entered, Madison behind her. Victoria's face was a mask of control, but I could see the tension in her shoulders. Thomas called the meeting to order. This emergency session was called regarding allegations of fiduciary misconduct. Ms. Allison Foster has filed a formal complaint. He looked at me. Ms. Foster, please present your case. I stood. My hands were steady. Thank you. I'm here because my father created this foundation to serve the community, not private interests. Over the past 18 months, $587,000 has been withdrawn from the foundation account for unauthorized purposes. I distributed the packets James had prepared, bank statements, emails, authorization forms. Each board member received one. Victoria's face went white. These withdrawals violate the foundation charter, which explicitly prohibits personal loans and requires board approval for any expenditure over $10,000. Victoria started to speak. Those were legitimate business expenses. Thomas cut her off. Mrs. Foster, you'll have time to respond. Please let Ms. Foster finish. I continued. The withdrawals were authorized by Victoria Foster and in 2 instances, co-signed by Madison Foster. They were categorized as marketing and consulting, but no services were rendered and no invoices exist. I showed the email trail. Madison's message. Mom needs this approved by end of day. It's for the Florida deal. Additionally, I have evidence that Victoria attempted to coerce me into transferring ownership of my personal property, a beach house valued at $8.5 million, to use as collateral for a corporate loan. I laid out the texts, the phone call transcripts I'd documented, the Commercial Observer article where Victoria claimed family legacy assets were available for the Florida expansion. The board members reviewed the documents in silence. Robert Chen's expression was grim. Lisa Tran was taking notes, her lawyer's mind clearly cataloging violations. Finally, Thomas looked up. Mrs. Foster, how do you respond to these allegations? Victoria stood, her composure cracking at the edges. This is a family matter being blown out of proportion. Allison is upset about personal issues and is weaponizing the foundation. Robert Chen interrupted. With all due respect, $587,000 is not a personal issue. It's embezzlement. I fully intended to repay. Lisa Tran shook her head. Intent is irrelevant. The charter is clear. These transactions are illegal. Victoria's face flushed. The company needed capital. The Florida expansion is a major opportunity. Funded by stolen charitable donations? Thomas's voice was steel. Mrs. Foster, this foundation was established to provide scholarships and community support, not to bankroll real estate deals. Victoria turned to Madison. Tell them. Tell them this was for the company, for our future. Madison looked like she might be sick. I just signed what you told me to sign. I didn't know it was wrong. Madison, you said it was a standard authorization. Madison's voice rose, panic bleeding through. You said Dad used to do it all the time. Your father never touched foundation funds for personal use. I spoke quietly but clearly. Ever. Madison turned to the board, desperation in her eyes. I swear, I didn't know. I trusted my mother. You ungrateful, Victoria started. Mrs. Foster. Thomas's voice cracked like a gavel. Control yourself. James Crawford stood. There's one more matter. The will of Richard Foster contains a forfeiture clause. Section 7, paragraph 3 states that any beneficiary who attempts to deprive another beneficiary of their rightful inheritance through fraud or coercion forfeits their entire inheritance. He let that sink in. The evidence shows Victoria Foster attempted to coerce Allison into surrendering her property rights. Combined with the misappropriation of foundation assets, which are part of the estate, this triggers the forfeiture clause. Victoria's face went from red to white. That's ridiculous. We have recorded phone conversations, James continued calmly. Text messages, witness testimony, the legal standard has been met. Thomas looked at James. If the forfeiture clause is triggered, what are the consequences? Victoria and Madison Foster lose all inheritance rights, company shares, foundation board seats, trust distributions, everything. Assets revert to the remaining beneficiary. The room went silent. In this case, James finished, Allison Foster. Thomas Hartwell folded his hands on the table. The board needs to vote on two matters. First, whether to remove Victoria Foster as CEO pending investigation. Second, whether to recommend activation of the will's forfeiture clause based on presented evidence. Victoria stood. You can't do this. I've run this company for 6 months. You've run it into ethical bankruptcy, Robert Chen said flatly. Sit down, Mrs. Foster. She sat, shaking. Lisa Tran spoke. I move to remove Victoria Foster as CEO effective immediately. I second, Robert said. Thomas looked around the table. All in favor? 8 hands rose. Only Victoria abstained. Motion passes. Mrs. Foster, you are relieved of your duties. Security will escort you from the premises following this meeting. Victoria's hands clenched on the table. This is a coup. You're all going to regret this. Sit down, Thomas said, or I'll have you removed forcibly. She sat, her face a mask of fury and shock. Second vote, Thomas continued. Activation of the forfeiture clause. This is a legal matter beyond board authority, but we can recommend to the estate attorney. Discussion? The evidence is clear, Lisa said. Misappropriation of estate assets, attempted coercion, both meet the clause's criteria. I agree, another board member added. This isn't a gray area. Thomas nodded. All in favor of recommending activation? 9 hands rose, unanimous. Mr. Crawford, please proceed with legal action. James made a note. The estate will file with probate court within 48 hours. Madison's voice was small. Wait, what does this mean for me? Lisa turned to her. It means you lose your inheritance, Ms. Foster. All of it. But I didn't know. I was just following Mom's instructions. You're 28 years old and a vice president of a major company, Robert said. I didn't know is not a legal defense. You signed authorization forms for fraudulent transactions. That makes you complicit. Madison started crying. Real tears this time, not manipulative ones. Thomas addressed me. Ms. Foster, the board would like to appoint you as interim trustee of the foundation, pending permanent arrangements. Do you accept? I stood. I accept. on the condition that we conduct a full audit and implement stronger oversight. Agreed. Thomas struck the table with his palm. This meeting is adjourned. Security appeared at the door. Victoria stood, her face twisted with rage. As she passed my chair, she leaned in and hissed, "Your father would be ashamed of you." I looked up at her. "No, Victoria. He'd be ashamed of you. That's why he made sure I could stop you." After Victoria and Madison were escorted out, the room exhaled. Board members approached me, their expressions a mix of relief and concern. Patricia Westbrook, who'd attended as a major donor with observer status, squeezed my shoulder. "Your father chose well. You have his integrity." Robert Chen extended his hand. "We should have caught this sooner. I apologize. The important thing is, we caught it now." Thomas Hartwell remained seated, reviewing documents. When the others had left, he looked up at me. "Your father told me something years ago. He said if anything happened to him, I should watch out for you." He smiled slightly. He said, "Allison will need allies, not rescuers." I'm glad he was right. Thank you for listening. Thank you for having the courage to speak up. Many people wouldn't have. Diane appeared in the doorway, her eyes red. Thank you. I was so scared to come forward. I hugged her. You did the right thing, and you'll be protected. I'll make sure of it. James gathered his files. The legal process will take a few months, but the outcome is clear. The forfeiture clause is airtight. What happens to their company shares? They revert to the estate. As sole remaining beneficiary, you inherit everything, including majority control of Foster Development. The weight of that settled over me. I don't want to run the company. You don't have to. You can appoint a management team, sell your shares, or restructure. It's your choice. He paused. That's what your father wanted, for you to have choices. Sophie, who'd waited outside during the meeting, rushed in. Is it over? The hard part is, I looked around the room, the portraits on the walls, my father's face among them. Now comes the rebuilding. We left together, walking through the now empty ballroom. Staff were clearing tables, dismantling the elegant setup, building legacies the theme had been. I'd just protected one and destroyed another. 6 weeks later, the probate court made it official. The forfeiture clause was activated. Victoria and Madison lost everything tied to my father's estate. Victoria. CEO position gone. 4.2 million in stocks and cash, gone. Board seat, gone. Access to the foundation, gone. Madison. VP position resigned under pressure. 2.8 million inheritance, gone. Trust fund, gone. They kept what they'd earned before my father died. But nothing from his legacy. Victoria attempted to contest it. Her lawyers filed motions, made arguments about undue influence and procedural errors. The case was dismissed after 3 weeks. No legal standing, the judge ruled. Victoria had to pay her own legal fees. $40,000. Madison moved to California. I saw it on Instagram, vague posts about new beginnings and finding myself. She'd unfollowed me, but mutual friends shared screenshots. One post was a quote graphic. Sometimes family disappoints you. The comments were supportive, people who didn't know the whole story. I received a letter from her, forwarded through James's office. Allison, I'm sorry. I should have questioned things. I was lazy and selfish. I don't expect forgiveness, but I wanted you to know. You were right. Mom used me. I let her. I'm trying to be better. I hope someday we can talk. Madison. I read it twice. Then I put it in a drawer. Not because I was cruel, but because some apologies need to be followed by change, not just words. And I needed to see if Madison was serious about becoming someone different. Meanwhile, the foundation underwent restructuring, new board members, stricter financial controls, quarterly audits, complete transparency in all transactions. Diane was promoted to Chief Operating Officer. She got a significant raise and public recognition for her integrity. The story made it into the business press. Foster Foundation implements sweeping reforms after financial misconduct discovery. Victoria's name was mentioned. Not mine. I preferred it that way. I didn't quit architecture. Despite inheriting millions, despite now controlling 75% of foster development, I kept my practice, kept taking clients, kept doing the work I loved. I used part of the inheritance to launch something I'd been dreaming about for years, a scholarship fund for students studying architecture and sustainable design. Students who came from backgrounds like mine, who'd lost parents, who felt like outsiders, who needed someone to believe in them. The fund's name? The Richard Foster Memorial Scholarship for Emerging Architects. 20 students in the first year, full tuition plus stipend for living expenses. I interviewed each one personally. The beach house stayed mine. I renovated part of it, turned the lower level into a workspace with drafting tables and natural light. The upper level remained living space. Once a year, I hosted a retreat there for the Foundation's scholarship recipients. A week of mentorship, portfolio reviews, and conversations about building things that last. I joined the Foundation board officially, attended quarterly meetings, helped shape strategy. My father had built something good. I was determined to keep it that way. Foster development thrived under new leadership. I'd appointed an experienced CEO from outside the family, someone with a track record of ethical management and sustainable growth. The company pivoted from aggressive expansion to steady, responsible development. The Florida deal went forward, but scaled down, 25% smaller, funded through traditional investors who did proper due diligence. I sold 30% of my shares after 2 years, kept 45% for long-term stability, and used the proceeds to fund more scholarships. I was single, focused on work and healing. I saw a therapist weekly, processing family trauma, learning to set boundaries, understanding that protecting yourself isn't the same as being cruel. Sophie remained my closest friend. James Crawford became a mentor, teaching me about legacy planning and responsible wealth management. I reconnected with extended family, cousins and aunts and uncles from my father's side, who Victoria had gradually pushed away. They welcomed me back. People ask me if I regret how things ended, if I wish I'd tried harder to keep the family together. The truth is, I didn't break the family. I just stopped pretending it wasn't already broken. My father taught me that integrity isn't about being nice. It's about being honest, even when honesty costs you. Victoria and Madison had choices at every step. They chose greed. They chose cruelty. They chose to see me as an obstacle instead of family. I chose differently. I chose documentation over confrontation. I chose legal boundaries over emotional manipulation. I chose to protect what my father built instead of letting it be gutted for a real estate deal. And yes, I chose myself. For the first time in my life, I chose my own worth over their approval. If you're in a similar situation, if someone is trying to take what's yours, whether it's property or dignity or peace, know this. You don't owe anyone access to your life just because you share DNA. Boundaries aren't mean, they're necessary. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is let people face the consequences of their own actions. I think about my father often, about the letter he left me, about how he knew, even before he died, that I'd need protection. He gave me the tools, the trust, the forfeiture clause, the legal framework to stand up for myself. But more than that, he gave me the example. He showed me what it meant to build something with integrity, to create structures, physical and ethical, that could weather any storm. My father's legacy isn't the company or the money. It's the lesson that you can be kind without being weak, and strong without being cruel. That you can protect what matters without destroying yourself in the process. That sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is simply refuse to be erased. It's early morning at the beach house. I stand on the deck with coffee, watching the sun rise over the Atlantic. The ocean is calm today, waves rolling in with steady rhythm. On the table beside me, blueprints for a community center, a project funded by the foundation, sustainable design, accessible spaces, built to serve a neighborhood that needs it. My phone rings. A client calling about a consultation. I answer professionally, discussing load-bearing walls and natural light, and how to honor a building's history while making it functional for modern life. This is my life now. Building things, protecting things, creating spaces where people can thrive. I end the call and look back at the ocean. On the shelf inside, visible through the window, is that framed photo, 16-year-old me and my father, standing in front of this half-built house, both of us smiling, building things that last. That's what he taught me. And that's what I'm still doing. The house is still mine. The legacy is still intact. And I'm still standing. That's not revenge, that's justice. Thank you for watching my story. If it resonated with you, please subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. We all deserve to take up space in our own lives. Drop a comment below. Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and self-respect? What did you do? Your stories matter, and I read every single one. If you want more content about setting boundaries and protecting what's yours, hit that notification bell. I post new stories every week. Remember, you are not the villain for refusing to be the victim. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you in the next one.